Welcome back, y'all. Y'all can clap. Insert applause right there. Because go get it, I feel, is the spirit that each of the friends who are about to take this stage carry, as they each have carved a profitable path for themselves in real estate. Y'all give it up for that. So I want y'all to show some love as I am bringing each of Dr. Erica's real estate friends to the stage. Y'all ready for the first? Are y'all ready? Up first, this real estate investor. She started with no money, poor credit, and limited resources, but scaled her portfolio to 38 doors worth over $5 million in just a few years. Please welcome the host of Owning It and Living It Live, Erica Brown.
Comfortable in my skin, cozy with who I am. Comfortable in my skin, cozy, cozy. Comfortable in my skin.
You look good, girl.
Above your skin.
I see you.
Cozy with who I am, cozy, cozy.
Next, she's a retired pharmacist who cracked the code to ditching burnout by leveraging short and midterm rental investing, and as a result, retired her husband at 46 from a stressful psychotherapy practice. Please welcome real estate expert Rachel Gainsbru. Come on now. You done retired your husband now. Come on. Hey, come on, Rachel. All right. Our final panelist is licensed in multiple states and has built a career helping clients and students navigate every facet of real estate, from acquisitions and development to property management and wealth building strategies. Please welcome the founder of the Heirs Real Estate Investing System, Quito Johnson. Okay, Quito. And our moderator is the founder of Emma and Easter Realty Group, a tribute to her grandparents and her Mississippi roots. She just closed on her 5th investment property and continues to build legacy and wealth in their honor. Let's give her some praise as she comes to the stage to chat it up with her friends, Dr. Erica Jordan Thomas.
Hey! Sex I do work. Well, say something like Mike. He's out of sight. Woo! You got me piped.
All right.
You made like
Aren't they amazing? Aren't they beautiful? All right. So, y'all, we about to have a big boy talk. Real estate. Y'all ready? Okay, so actually, let's do this. Raise your hand if you would consider yourself to be a real estate investor. Yeah! All right, raise your hand if you would consider yourself to be a real estate investor. Okay, raise your hand if you desire to be a real estate investor. All right, so we're gonna have a conversation unpacking what I often call the hidden curriculum of wealth, which really the huge cheat code to it is real estate. And so let's have our panelists introduce themselves. And in your introduction, I want you to introduce yourself through the lens of real estate, of what real estate strategy do you mostly use in your real estate portfolio? So whether it's short-term, long-term, property management, broker, and for most of you, it's more than one, but name for us which strategies that you leverage through your real estate portfolio. Let's start there. We'll start with Erica.
All right. So as Erica said, I do various types of real estate right now in this season of where I am in life, where my goal is to just collect as many checks as easy as possible with less work. I'm currently, the majority of my portfolio is Section 8 investing.
And just to explain to people with Section 8, is that a particular type of, is that single family home, double? Does that cut across multiple types of properties, or is that limited to a particular type of property?
Yes. So I have both single families, multifamilies, majority in the residential side. So with the Section 8 rentals, for me, it's really a majority of ensuring that I have recession-proof types of investments set up currently. So given that we know where things are in the economy, where they could be potentially going, my goal was to make sure that regardless of what happens, what doesn't happen, whatever, that I can have my portfolio paying for itself and continuing to help, bring in money every month. So yeah, so majority of residential, all of the above.
Awesome. What about you, Dr. Rachel?
Hi guys, I'm Rachel Gainsbru. My brand is Short-Term Gems. I would say the majority of our portfolio right now is a mix between short-term rentals and midterm rentals. So all furnished housing, and we're catering to families who are displaced from their home, both locally or those who are traveling to an area for a destination. And we initially started with the short-term rental strategy because we're working W-2s, just grinding it out. And we really needed something that would bring in a little bit more cash flow, something that with just one or two properties had the ability to, number one, save us massively on taxes. As a W-2 earner, you work harder, you pay more in taxes, unfortunately. Having a business is a different story. So number one, we wanted something to help us to save on taxes. And there's a short-term rental loophole that checked off that box. And number two, we wanted something that could potentially replace our income with just one or two properties. And so we leaned heavily into short-term rentals. And one day we stumbled upon the midterm rental strategy by chance. Just having our property listed on the right platforms, all of a sudden the insurance companies were reaching out to us. And that's how we entered our foray into the midterm rental strategy.
Awesome. And Quito, what about you?
Quito Johnson. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here. It is a pleasure to share with you today. I'm kind of a mixture of both. And actually, I think what all of us are sharing is kind of falls in the landlording bucket, what I call a landlording bucket. But a large portion of my portfolio is Section 8 as well, primarily in the inner city of Atlanta. And then I do also operate in the midterm and short-term rental space as well.
Mm-hmm. So let's have each of you just quickly name how many doors in what cities or what states. So Erica, we'll start with you.
Right now I'm at around 35 doors, majority between Atlanta and Texas. We also own land in South Texas as well.
Awesome. And Dr. Rachel?
So my husband and I, we own 18 doors ourselves. With investors, we expanded to 57 doors or so. Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, Pennsylvania, Arizona, North Carolina, and Virginia.
Baby, that's half the U.S. Okay. We love it. We love it. All right. And then what about you, Quito?
So I'm a manager as well. I own a property management company. So we manage about 160 doors, and about 55 of those I either own or have some sort of ownership interest in, primarily here in Metro Atlanta.
All right. For our folks on the panel, raise your hand if you own an apartment building. All right. Raise your hand if you have ever flipped a property. Raise your hand if you have ever owned a property management company. Raise your hand if you have a brokerage or have previously had a brokerage. All right, so there's lots of layers to this, right? So I just want you all to be able to see, like, there's multiple different pathways, and part of my intention through this conversation is for you to know there's different types of pathways, and then to be able to understand why real estate is such a crazy tax strategy that's undeniable for wealth. So, Quito, tell us about your first investment property. I know I'm causing you to go way, way back, but talk to us around your first property.
I'm not that old.
I mean, okay, when did you buy your first property? It wasn't last year. That's the point.
It was not last year, and actually I am older than I look.
Yeah, it's getting real smooth. It's real smooth, so don't be fooled. Mm-hmm.
But I acquired my first property when I was 20. And at that time, I had no idea that it was not an investment property for me. That wasn't on my radar at the time. I was engaged to be married at 20. I actually got married 2 weeks before I turned 21. And to make a long story short, I was looking for a place to move from my parents' home, which is where I was still living, into a home of my own where I could start a family. And I found a property through a friend of a friend, through somebody at church that needed a whole lot of work. And it was owned by a real estate investor. He had just evicted his tenants and had decided that he was welcome. Congratulations. This landlord had just decided he was done with the game because they had trashed his property so much. I heard about the house. I went to look at it. I decided I want to buy it because I can put in sweat equity to move my family in. I reached out to the guy. This was many years ago. There was no internet. I had to go to the tax. Not like it is now. I had to go to the tax assessor's office, find his number. Long story short, I reached out and I said, hey, I realize you have a property that just came available and I'm interested. He said, if you're serious, you need to make a decision right now because I just hired a contractor and he's probably there doing work. I made him an offer on the spot. At that time, it was $77,000. I made an offer and went to get a traditional loan on it and found out that because it was in such bad condition, I couldn't get an FHA loan. At that point, I went back and said, look, my father and I have a construction company. Let me rent it for a little bit and do some work on it. And I didn't realize then that I was negotiating a lease purchase. I did a 6-month lease, renovated the property in the first 4 months. 4 months later, I was able to get a loan to actually acquire the property. So that was my first property. And then every 2 years, I found myself moving into properties that needed sweat equity. And there's a whole, capital gain rule around how you can increase property values as long as you live in it for 2 years and sell it. You can walk away with the cash up to $200,000 as a single person, tax-free. And so that was my strategy. And over a 15-year period of time, I think I'd lived in about 10 different houses, moving and moving and moving. And so that was my first property.
And do you still have it or did you sell it?
I sold it.
And how you bought it for $77,000, right?
I bought it for $77,000. I helped my sister get into the game, and I ultimately sold it to her for $150,000, and she sold it, I think, for $250,000 a few years later.
Mm-hmm. Come up and just let me throw you a little property real quick. Okay, Erica, tell us about your first. Tell us about your last deal.
That's a good question. I was looking forward to sharing my first one too.
Okay, because I know that story too.
Man, I think that's an amazing story. Which one do you want me to do?
Let's start with whichever one you think is more juicy and folks would learn from.
The folks will definitely learn for the first. Well, here's the context as well. So growing up, my parents owned our home, right? And that was like a huge win for us. I mean, literally my dad was, he grew up a sharecropper and picked cotton. So I am the first millionaire in my family, but literally one generation away from extreme poverty, okay? So it was a win for us to own our home growing up, but I never even understood the concept of a landlord. It was such a foreign thing to me, right? So when we got, when I was a part of the bank and I was a bank manager at the time, and I had so many wealthy clients that were coming in, and just because I just love asking questions and being curious, I was just like, I would meet the executive, I would meet the business owner, I would meet the C-suite person, and they all own real estate. So something told me I need to start learning about real estate. So I just got into the books and things like that. So this was right after the last Great Recession. I seen my mother-in-law lose her house because of mortgage fraud, and the interest rate went from 8% to 3% to 14%. So I'm very much the millennial. I don't know if there are other millennials in the world and here that we've been through a lot, y'all. We've been through a whole lot. Oh my gosh. So that was my introduction into real estate. So for us, we are very nervous to buy a house because so many people had just lost their homes. But we were determined to buy a house. We had 3 small children at the time. And at this moment, we decided to move to an area of town in Atlanta on the west side that wasn't cute. Now the west side is cute. You got the Beltline, anyone that's here in Atlanta, you have the breweries, you have all the stuff, but at that time it wasn't cute. It was boarded up houses everywhere. It was, drug activity, was all that kind of stuff. But at the time, that's all we could afford. So I bought my house for $20,000 in Atlanta, Georgia. That's crazy, right? And we did what's called a 203K loan. It was an FHA renovation loan. So we were able to, it was a foreclosure at the time. So we were able to bid on the property. My real estate agent at the time, because our credit was so bad, was like, I don't think we're gonna close. So if your real estate agent says, I don't think we're gonna close, that is bad. But with the loan that we were able to get a house that also gave us the money to buy it plus to renovate the home. And so we were just trying to get a home that had a little bit of a basement area that we could renovate and we could rent out so that we could help pay for these kids' childcare. Because at the time we were living paycheck to paycheck and we had 2 kids in childcare and it was equivalent to a mortgage, which I'm sure it is still now. Somebody said, yes, it is. So we were able to, so again, we put a bid on the house. Our agent said, I don't think you're going to get it, but here we go. And they accepted the offer, and it was for $20,000. So 60 days later, we closed. We had to put down $3,000. I had to borrow $3,000 from my daddy. Okay, y'all, it was that bad. And we borrowed the $3,000. We renovated the property. We had a tenant move in the basement from our church, and they needed somewhere to stay too. So that helped us to pay for childcare. And that was that first step that helped us get out of that cycle, right? At the time, we didn't know that that's called house hacking, right? If you've heard of that term before, we didn't know what that was called. But because of God's faithfulness, right? Because we only moved to that area because we moved there with a group of people to start a church to be good neighbors, right? And so because of God's faithfulness, just under 5 years later, we sold that house for $500,000. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And at the time, we had only, between the renovation and what we own in the house, we were all in like 115. So that was being able to see, $300 and whatever $1,000 wired to my bank account when we sold it. We were able to then buy multiple properties. It changed the complete trajectory of our family.
So good. Dr. Rachel, you said something earlier that I think would be helpful to explain to folks. You said short-term rental loophole. Okay, so can you explain what that is for folks?
Yeah, so essentially the big bill that just passed in July, there's a lot of things in there, right? A lot of things in there. Hidden and tucked in within that particular bill, though, there's an opportunity for those who are looking to invest. And so I made up my mind, and we had something similar back in 2020, 2022. I made up my mind to glean everything I possibly can from that bill to help our community. And so inside of that bill is a loophole that allows you to take 100% bonus depreciation on a property that you put into service in 2025 and beyond. So if you position a property, you purchase it after January 19th of this year, you furnish it, you set it up as a short-term rental, kind of like an Airbnb, a property you would rent out 2 nights, 3 nights on the Airbnb platform. You're now activating something called 100% bonus depreciation. And so the furnishings you're placing into the property, the carpets, the LVP, the vinyl plank, the property essentially is broken down into little pieces, virtually, essentially. So instead of every year you're taking $2,000 deductions on your real estate property, when you file your taxes, you get $2,000 this year, $2,000 next year, $2,000 next year. Over the lifespan of 27 and a half years is what's expected. You get it all in year 1. So the big wake-up call for me was my husband and I, when we were working 5 jobs between the two of us trying to pay off $500,000 in student loan debt. That happened. I sat at a table reading the mail from the IRS that we owed $72,000 to the IRS. And that's when I realized, is this a scam? Is this a scam? Because we thought we were doing the right things. We were grinding it out to pay off these student loans, and we get yet another bill we weren't expecting. The cheat code is real estate. And so when we invested in that very first property, instead of owing the IRS the next year, we got our very first tax refund in years for $17,000 from the IRS. Mm-hmm. The only thing we did different was purchase one property, place some furniture. I was going to say throw some furniture on it from Facebook Marketplace. Gently place some furniture in it from Facebook Marketplace, rented it out. We purchased it in November. We rented it out in December, and we got the entire year's tax break because of that. Mm-hmm.
So the reason why that's so huge is, let's say you have a $1 million business, you have a 25% profit margin. That means you have $250,000 of additional taxable income. So you have multiple 6 figures more of income that has to be taxed by the government, and you in a high tax bracket. So what Dr. Rachel is saying is, oftentimes the strategy is people will just buy another property because I can write off 6 figures through 100% depreciation.
And it's so much better. Most accountants, when you make a lot of money at the end of the year, what do they say? Go buy a car, go spend some money.
A G-Wagon.
Yeah.
Hopefully an accountant don't say that, but.
I mean, but no, no shade if that's what you do. But the goal is to buy an asset, not something that is going to become a liability, something that is going to make you money further. Before my mother retired, a few years ago, she was making around $60,000. I think maybe that year I may have made $750,000 between my business and my real estate investments. She paid more in taxes than I did. And it's not because, and I know Dr. Eric teaches this, but here's the thing. The tax code incentivizes people who provide jobs and housing. It's not about just the making money, it's about the way you make money. Yes. That's really important.
And if I could jump in real quick, and it penalizes W-2 employees. And my husband and I were stacking up more W-2 opportunities, and the tax code penalizes you for working a W-2. It's when you create a business, now you're creating jobs and opportunity. That's when the government says, oh, okay, let's go ahead and give them an incentive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there is a designation called a real estate professional that you, once you reach a certain status or you're managing a certain number of properties, then you're able to, as a real estate professional, take advantage of the largest tax breaks. What Dr. Rachel speaks of when she talks about the loophole is you can instantly begin to access those additional deductions when you leverage short-term rentals. That is the loophole, the short-term rental loophole that you mentioned. And I just want to highlight that fact, because a lot of times people think they got to have a whole lot of property before they can take advantage of these major deductions. But with this short-term rental loophole, you can instantly be able to tap into some of those deductions.
And we're gonna, I'm gonna give people an opportunity to get to the mics, because we'll have an opportunity for a couple of questions, and then go ahead and share what you were gonna say.
I was gonna say, so for the people who are here who are married or have a significant other, and you have two income spouse or whatever, so you can also qualify for the same rep status, and there are some situations where if an individual actually stops working and then invests in real estate, if you're paying so much in taxes, some people, it's actually, you save money by quitting your job, depending on how your income is structured. And so these are all the things that is really important that you can take advantage of with the real estate with just a couple of real estate investing strategies, but there's so many that we're not even going to be able to talk about.
So let me clarify what Erica just said and what Quito was talking about of being professional real estate status. You have to be working a certain amount of hours fully dedicated to your real estate business. What's the actual number?
750
For the year. For the year, 750 hours for the year. So essentially you're like full-time, like managing your property. So I can't be a professional real estate investor yet, right? But what Erica is saying, that the number, and what Quito is saying, the number of deductions that unlocked once you can claim that, for some people, many people, you need to quit your job, right? Because your job is what's preventing you from being able to claim that status, because you can't say I'm working 750 hours on real estate because you have a W-2 9-to-5 job. So just making that delineation. One last question, then we're going to go to the mics. One of the biggest mindset shifts that blew my mind, and you all have helped me think through this or just become exposed to this, I didn't realize that you could get funding outside of a bank.
And it's so much easier.
It's so much easier. And actually, when people talk about like being an entrepreneur and having all these, hoops and loops to go through, it's actually the easiest way to get monies going outside of a bank. So Quito, if you could talk us through one or two non-bank funding strategies that investors tap into to purchase properties.
Well, first that comes to mind is a hard money loan. A hard money loan is when someone will loan you or a company will loan you money to renovate a property that needs to be brought up to par before you can get a long-term loan on it, or maybe you're renovating it to sell it. So that's a hard money loan, and it's typically what's considered asset-based lending. And I also want to pivot and talk about the DSCR loan, which is also asset-based lending. So the DSCR loan is for long-term financing on a buy and hold property. And those types of loans, asset-based lending, is not based on your personal income. It's based on the ability of that asset to produce income. So it's a formula based on, this is the purchase price, this is what the income or rent will be from the property, these are what the total expenses are. And as long as it fits in that formula, as long as you have decent credit, it doesn't matter what your income is, you can qualify to purchase that property on a DSCR loan.
All right, let's go to Jonte.
Thank you. Thank you all for your wisdom and just
framing for the questions. I'm sorry. Framing for the questions. Name, question, one panelist. Go ahead.
Jonte, this is to anyone who'd like to answer. I heard midterm rental, but curious what that is. And then that's quick question. And then a somewhat quick question is, if I live in a city that bans Airbnb and those sorts, what's the loophole around that for short-term rentals?
Mm-hmm. So we'll go to Dr. Rachel. Yep.
Yes. Midterm rentals are furnished properties. They can either be furnished or unfurnished property. You could rent out month to month to month. Okay. So midterm rentals, there are a variety of people that need midterm rentals, whether it's families who are displaced due to a disaster, that occurred for their home, and they need a place to stay while their home is being renovated. There are over 63 other midterm rental avatars. Higher education, if you live near university. Political campaign staff, if you live near a state capital, et cetera, et cetera. The second question, what was it?
Was if your city has banned short-term rental, how to navigate that?
Midterm rentals, same. Midterm rentals typically are coded as long-term rentals, so you can pivot to a midterm rental strategy if you already are in that property. And so your goal would then be to create a seasonality playbook so that you identify, well, what are my top 5 midterm rental avatars that are coming to the market? Is it minor league baseball training, like one of our properties in Tempe, Arizona? So there are a variety of people who would love to stay in a nice furnished home month to month. So doubling down on who those individuals are and creating your seasonality playbook is how to weather that storm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Erica, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Can I Dr. Erica, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Can I ask Dr. Rachel just to put another pin in, because I still feel a little unsettled about the whole loophole. And I want to make sure that the audience is clear on how to tap into that loophole and take advantage of the additional tax benefits, even if you don't yet qualify as 750 hours a year.
For the short-term rental
Short-term rental
loophole?
loophole.
Yeah, so in order to qualify for the short-term rental loophole, you have to meet what is called material participation. So you don't have to qualify by leveraging 750 hours. However, you need to work 100 hours in your business. And and I know this is being recorded, but one of my cheat codes is we create a very, I would say, comprehensive guidebook. By creating your guidebook, setting up your utilities for your property, there's a checklist of things that you would easily be able to accomplish 100 hours of material participation. So that's one of the ways.
And the short-term rental loophole is how I got a tax refund.
Oh,
Like it is currently my tax strategy.
there you go.
So you are a 7-figure business owner and you got a refund. I love that.
Because of a short-term rental loophole that actually, and this is why having a community is so important. In speaking with my financial team, they didn't have that on their radar. So when they first did my taxes, I owed. So I knew what questions to ask as a real estate investor because of who I'm connected with. I said, have you leveraged the short-term rental loophole? Because they knew I had properties, but they didn't realize that I had an Airbnb. They thought I was long-term renting. So because of that, I was able to be in a position of the checks and balance for my financial team to actually say, you actually have to redo my taxes. And I came out with a refund. All right, Dr. Sharis.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Sharis Lattimore, founder of The Girl Geek. I am not ashamed to ask. I need help with someone who knows about air property. My great-grandmother got some land. She got hit by the bus dragged her. They sued the city. She got this piece of land. Great-grandmother. I'm 61, okay? We have been looking for over 20-something years. When you come down with that air property nonsense and that factor tree, and there's only one person who got that house torn down, who is getting the lawn mowed every month to hold on to my grandmother's property, because I'm not gonna let anybody take that property for $1. I paid a tax on it. Nobody else has helped me with that. I want not only what my great-grandmother got, I want that block. Because gentrification has happened behind my grandmother's property in Augusta, Georgia. I see it when I come home from Louisville, Kentucky. I see it happening. I see it coming up on her street. I pull those houses up and they're over $100,000. I do not want anybody to take my grandmother's great-grandmother's property. I want not only that block, not only that house, I want that block. And I need somebody I can trust to walk me through that air property stuff. Help.
So two things. So I want to make sure I understand your question. Is the question around a specific strategy? Is that I'm not sure what the strategy is and I need help? Where do I start?
I don't know what to do. And it's been over 20 years.
So I'm going to do this. So first off, this is why being in these rooms matter, right? And the moment she said Augusta, what do you think I thought about? The Masters tournament.
I even worked there when I was 15, when it still looked like a slave plantation. I worked there. All the people who worked there were Black. The caddies were Black. And people don't believe me now when they watch the Masters and don't see any Black faces.
Yep.
I know this. I live this, and I need help.
This is what I'm going to do, Dr. Sharis, because Erica actually has a conference next month, and I'm going to purchase a ticket for you. So that way, yeah. So You will get the
Oh, yeah,
strategy
we're gonna get you
and
together.
so much more.
We're gonna get you.
We'll get you together. We'll get you together. Yeah. We'll get you together. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Go ahead. We'll go with Tiffany. We'll take 2 last questions and then we'll move forward. Go ahead, Tiffany.
This question is for anyone on the panel. Tiffany Kelly. This is so on time for me. I am about to inherit, along with my brother, 3 doors. One of them was sold within the estate because we're selling my late father's estate. And so there were 4 properties, 2 pieces of land. One of the properties was sold. My sister, she sold one of them, and so there's now money in the estate for my brother and I to split. There are 3 properties left. One of the properties is a rent to own, so we have someone in that property, and they are basically renting to own. It still has a mortgage on it. There are 2 other properties, however, that are there, but they are not in the conditions to be rented. And so I really want to, this is my thinking, so I'm asking anyone on the panel to help me if you can answer this question. Am I on the right track? I'm considering selling those properties because I don't want to own properties with my brother. Because I don't want that responsibility, because my brother is not responsible, and it will sit on me, and I don't want that. And so my thinking is that I want to sell those properties and invest someplace else. Am I on the right track?
Okay, can I jump in there? Oh, okay, sorry. You itching.
No, I already know.
So I work with people every day, all the time with that have inherited property. Our land in Texas was inherited on my husband's side. It's been in our family since 1870. It is 50 acres in a town called Brenham, Texas, that now the house next door is worth $2 million. So they're trying to come for us, okay? So I'm super passionate, if you can't tell how my energy has changed, about how to keep this wealth in our family, okay? So you don't have to necessarily sell the property because you don't want to deal with your brother. You can buy your brother out, okay? You just need a strategy and someone to help you navigate that process, but don't be quick to just, because you don't want to deal with him, to sell the property.
We deal with each other, but I just know that historically, he's not going to be there to help me.
Right.
And here's the other part. So I know I could buy him out. I don't necessarily have the funds to buy him out. And it needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of work.
Yes. What city is the property
It's
located?
in South Carolina.
Where? What city?
Ridgeland, South Carolina.
Depending on where the property is, it is an asset. Even if the property needs work, it is still land. It is still housing, and we are not making any more land, so it is still worth something. So there is a possibility that you could actually get money from the property of what it's worth to pay your brother off and to renovate the property to become an income generating asset. Okay, so you just need someone to help you with that strategy, but my suggestion, I don't tell people what to do, I just suggest. My suggestion is that, to potentially buy him off, but to also let you know that you do have some options. You have more options than what you may have thought.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, we'll go over here. Last question. Name, 1 question, 1 panelist.
Grand Rising, my name is Letitia Gotash, and this is for everyone.
1 question, 1 person. Go ahead.
When I'm listening to all of you, I didn't hear anything about real estate syndication. Does anybody know about real estate syndication or even tax lien sales?
Oh, tax lien sales. Quito, do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. Which one? Because it's 2 questions.
Let's first explain what real estate syndication is. Let's go that one, because I think that's probably a little bit more unknown.
Yeah, syndication is when you as an individual join a larger group of people to invest in larger projects. So, Lamar Tyler just spoke and he showed several slides where he bought several individual properties. And then as the slides went on, there were larger complexes around the country, right, that he's a part of. Those are types of syndications where an individual can come to the table and invest a portion of money could be 10,000, could be 100,000, based on the rules of the syndication. But you invest that portion of money that's pooled together with other investors, and you ultimately make a return on your investment.
Awesome. All right, so let's wrap our panel with what's one hidden curriculum gem that you feel like most people don't know about when it comes to real estate that you can share with our audience. So one like hidden curriculum real estate gem that you could share with the audience. And we'll start with Erica.
Well, the gem that I would share is some advice that I was given early on, and it has helped me now to not only myself and my husband to both be an entrepreneur family and also to be able to have grown our wealth over this amount of time. And it is when you buy a property, when you buy a real estate property, regardless of the strategy that you're going to use, short-term rent, short-term, midterm, whatever, regardless of the strategy, to base your numbers, the numbers that you are running to see if this is a good deal or not, to base those numbers off what you can get in rent. Traditional rent, because things can change. Airbnb regulations can change. There's so many things can change. And at the end of the day, if you could still pay rent, if someone else can pay rent and be able to take care of the expenses of that property, then you win, because real estate is a long-term game. Okay. It is not a get quick, situation. And so that is what I would suggest, is to make sure, and we do this with Dr. Erica, can we pay if at the end of the day, if we had to pivot, can we pay the expenses on this property with traditional rent?
Mm-hmm. Hi, Dr. Rachel.
Let me go next. Okay. I love what Erica shared. I was going to go into the numbers. I think a lot of times we get into a crowded setting and we get a little bit of a thing called door envy. We see someone with 10 doors, 40 doors, 50 doors. And I was really impressed with the ability to run my numbers in such a way, 1 or 2 doors when we're starting out could outperform someone with 50 doors, for example. So I would say the hidden curriculum is start where you are. Don't worry about someone with 50 doors. You don't know if they're cash flowing or not. So be really strategic about that first door, because that's the domino that you could tip over, that will open the door, for lack of a better word, to your next property and then the next.
Beautiful. Right.
Amazing. I agree with both 150%. I'm going to go back to something I mentioned earlier about my start and my first property. And what I mentioned around the capital gains law that says if you live in a property 2 of the previous 5 years, so you could rent it out for 3 years and then move in it and live there 2 to meet that requirement, or you could live in it 2 years and move out and rent it for 2.5 years. As long as you live in a property 2 of the previous 5 years leading up to the day you sell it, then you can walk away with the profit from that property, again, up to $200,000 if you're single, and the number is larger if you're married. But you can walk away with all of that profit tax-free. And so my initial strategy was that's why, at 47 years, 48 now, I think. But at 48 years old, I've lived in 13 primary residences, because I would intentionally seek out an acquisition opportunity that I could move in, put sweat equity in, significantly increase the value, and after I meet my 2-year requirement, I can sell it and take all of that cash tax-free and move to the next one. And I think a lot of people miss that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. This is so good. I'm trying to contain myself because there's like so many different directions. I'm going to share 2 final thoughts. Even if you do not currently own a property, the fact that we've had 2 people on the mic talking about inheriting property. Hey!
Welcome.
Now is the time to get savvy, whether you own or not. Because traditionally in our community, we're still improving our knowledge around estate planning. At any moment, you could get a property. So starting now is the best time. And then secondly, I think, and I want to use the language that Tiffany said and reframe it around how we define hard, right? Because freedom requires work. Breaking chains requires work, right? But it's not impossible when you have community. And the reason why I love what Quito just shared is it helps expose you to how millionaires think of they determine where they move to based upon a tax strategy. They determine where they live, whether it's city, whether it's the type of residence. They might decide, I'm not moving to another property unless it has an ADU unit, an accessory dwelling unit, so I can rent it out. They make those decisions based upon tax strategy. So I say that because I want you all to be exposed to that type of thinking, because you literally have the opportunity to do that now. So I want you to have the reflective question at any moment, how might my decision work in my favor and allow me to make more money? All right, let's give it up for our panel. Let's thank them for joining us here tonight. We're gonna take a quick picture.